All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending our Holganix webinar today. I know everybody's busy, and so really incredibly grateful for you to take some time out of your day to learn a little bit about Holganix Bio 800 products and how we're helping farmers out in the field and what kind of results we're seeing. I'm Barrett Ursick. I'm the founder, CEO of Holganix, and we're going to be joined in the webinar today by a couple of people who spend a lot of time in the field. We've got Mike Batson. Mike's he's a farmer and he's an agronomist. He works for our distributor out of Iowa called Holganix Midwest, and Mike spends quite a bit of his time out in the field looking at results, comparing controls to test plots and working with farmers directly, and he'll tell some things he's been seeing in the field. And then we've got Tim Varlick, who's out there in Nebraska, and Tim helps us to represent our product in his part of the country. And spends a lot of time out in the field with his customers, but also is an active farmer and has been for multiple generations and has plenty of experience using it on his own ground as well as his customers' grounds. So with that, we'll get started. And again, thanks for everybody for the time you're giving us. So we're gonna start this webinar off with just a little overview on Holganix company, the Holganix technology, what makes us different. And then we're going to jump right into what the guys are seeing in the field and make it more of a question answer. And by the way, if you have any questions during the webinar, just type them in your chat bar, and we'll get to them at the end. So we like to always kind of challenge people to start the journey to rebuild their soil by adding life back to the soil, and that's what we do with Holganix. We're all about living consortium of microbes using bacteria, fungi, amoeba, and protozoa. And build a healthy soil microbiome by adding the life back to the soil. And so, when is the time to start to rebuild your soil? We like to say the time is right now. And what if you did start right now, and in 3 years your farm was completely transformed? What if it was a different farm with different ground that could use less inputs, have improved stand count, and would have less insect pressure, as a result need less insecticides? The same thing with fungicides and fungus pressure. Higher yields, faster and easier planting, better stress management and drought resistance, significantly increased root mass with higher organic matter, and ultimately reduced tillage. We can do all of these things by adding life back to the soil. And we're going to hear some stories from Mike and from Tim on what they're seeing out in the field that actually points to all of those qualities that we're seeing out in the fields. So, very quickly, top five reasons to use a Holganix Bio 800 technology. And by the way, it's called Bio 800 Plus because we use over 800 species. So it's a lot of species across a broad consortium. It's different than any other microbial out there. Most other microbials will use 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 species. Nobody's anything close to 800. So we've got biodiversity that's unmatched by other companies, which means we have better ability to affect soil in ways that other companies can't do. In fact, we like to say we're a soil health company. That's primarily what we are. We use microbes as a tool to drive soil health, but we see ourselves as a soil health company first, not a microbial company first. But some of the benefits that you see are early emergence. This is 5-day-old corn in this first little picture here, and you can see treated versus untreated. Look at how much more developed those roots are. We just see generally healthier plants with thicker stalks, with less pests, less disease, better brace roots. And again, you can see that in that picture. Healthier soil, because we're building that microbiome. The beneficial microbiome is going to grow and thrive. And every time you're adding the biology and the life back to the soil, you're increasing energy in that, what we like to say, the flywheel of soil health. And so the more you use it, the better that flywheel goes. And you can see it and touch it and feel it. We see significantly increased root mass. I mean, you can take a look at treated versus control on this picture. And that's a typical scenario, 4 to 10 times more root mass, more root hairs. The soil sticks to the root better because the microbes help to create that glue that hold it there. More dense stands and higher yields at harvest. So we like to pay for ourselves right up front with fertilizer efficiency. We like to put money back in the farmer's pocket and yield improvement. And we like to say we give you soil health as a legacy that you get to hand down to future generations. So Bio 800 Plus, there's 2 different ways that you can use our technology. There are 2 different formulations for row crop farmers. One we use at springtime, and we put that down at at planting or as close to planting as practical. We want a half a gallon of product, concentrated product per acre. Usually we mix that into 10 to 15 gallons of water if it's going to go down as a broadcast, or 5 gallons of water if it's going to go down in furrow, or it can be mixed with fertilizer. It can be mixed with pre or post-emergent herbicide as well. So mixed with just about anything but a fungicide. And so easy to apply, get it down as close to planting as practical. 2 weeks, pre or post plant, or right at planting is a great time to apply. And you'll see better. These microbes with our spring application are designed to give you germination, rooting, early fertilizer efficiency, and so really powerful at getting the product, getting the plant out of the ground, get it established, use the nutrients you apply a lot more efficiently. And then we have the fall formulation, and the fall formulation you apply basically just after harvest, and that's a half a gallon an acre of concentrated product as well. We like to see it go down with 15 gallons of water or more, but 15 works well. And that helps really degrade break down the stover, the stubble, make it a lot easier to go through the ground in the spring. It really reduces tillage and puts nutrients and organic matter back in the soil by breaking down that stover and stubble and everything that's trapped inside of that. We'll get to some of that in a little bit. So one of the things I think that really proves that at Holganix, we want to be the partner to the farmer in helping them on their soil health journey. And we kind of put our money where our mouth is by getting out in the field and helping to measure results. And we do this on our dime. Us and our distributors pay to go out and do all of the field work mid-season, which we're in the middle of doing right now. And we don't get on every single farm, but we try to get on every farm that buys at least a total material, which is 500 acres worth, within geographies where we have the agronomic support that can do it, which is probably 80% of our customers. So if we haven't been able to get to you and you're on this call, I apologize. Certainly, if you call us, we'll get there if we can. But the more customers we have in an area, the easier it is for us to do this field work. Our intention is to get on every single piece of ground, and we do everything we can to do that. But the majority of our customers do get a field test where we go out and we use real-time tools to get tailgate measurements with cutting-edge, high-tech measurement tools. We use things like the Crystal Labs soil probe, which stick it into the ground and it gives you things like bulk density. It gives you CEC. It'll give you pH. It gives it to you right off, immediately right there while you're sitting on the tailgate. And we share that right there with the farmer, give them that information. We have the microbiometer, which is a really cool tool gate test, which can show you general microbial populations, tells you your bacterial to fungi ratio. So again, we can show treated ground versus untreated ground. We show movements, improvements in microbial activity. We show improvements in having a higher fungal count, which most farms are bacterial dominant. So we want to try to move the fungal count up so we have a more balanced bacterial fungal ratio. And then we use the leaf tech tool as well, which helps to understand around nutrient availability and how those nutrients are getting taken up by the plant and used efficiently. So we help do these things to help give our farmers tools to make good decisions. We also help to do this to help document the journey in soil health that we're doing with our farmers, so they can see that the things they're doing are indeed improving their soil, while we're also helping to reduce fertilizer inputs and improve yield and have general healthier plants. So that's something that we like to do in order to add value back to our customers and be a real partner in the field. So when you look at thinking about using the Bio 800 technology on corn, especially at springtime, we're looking at larger root mass with better brace roots. We see much healthier plants with thicker stalks, more reliable stalks, less pest and disease. You'll see the color; it'll be greener in shade. That really just shows you that the nitrogen is making its way into the leaves much more efficiently because of the benefit of using biology to help break the fertilizer applied nitrogen down, holding on to it, and then making it available to the plant very efficiently. We see improved soil structure. It's really exciting to see the roots grow significantly deeper. We'll see things like CEC go up. We'll see bulk density improve. And you can also see that rhizosheath, which is the glue from the microbes helping the soil stick to the roots, which again is just a really good sign of healthier soil structure. And the stand count is going to go up as well. So now we're getting into the field tests, and let's take a look at this in this corn in central Iowa, Mike. I think you were on this field You want to tell us what we're looking at and what kind of things you were seeing?
Uh, yeah, basically seeing a little faster emergence, a little longer uh, tap root with finer hairs on it. Uh, Usually see that consistently, and seeing some good things out there.
How many fields, Mike, do you think you've been on this spring just to kind of go analyze results and pull roots and do some of those tailgate tests that we were just talking about with some of those high tech pieces of equipment?
Right now, as a group, we've probably been on 150 some farms so far, and we some of them we've been on twice, and our goal is to get to everybody that we can get to. Looking like I think we've got close to we're probably 2/3 of the way where we need to be, but we got a little ways to go yet. We're
Okay,
currently today we're in Nebraska, Iowa, and into Illinois testing today.
great. And this picture right here of Rock Valley, Iowa, this corn, is there something specific that we should be looking at here that, as you remember being on this field?
Just that a no-till field that has got a good start and better penetrating roots through the residue and everything. Uh, Real good color to it. It's firing on all cylinders, and looks like it's on its way to being really good. I was at this field again here just recently, and it is starting to tassel and looking good.
Cool. So Mike, on a field like this, did you do any of the tools with a treated versus check?
That field there was 100% Holganix on it.
Gotcha.
A lot of that was a second year field,
Okay.
and usually you'll get a guy to do a check, but on the second year it's hard to get them to do it. They want to put it on all their acres.
Yeah, no reason to take a risk on any of the ground not treated and take that hit.
Yeah.
Do you happen to remember? And I know we got more fields to look at here, so if you don't, we can just move
Mhm.
on to the next one. But do you happen to remember year one to year two any improvements that you saw on any of those studies?
Yeah, we're starting to move more phosphorus into the plant, a little more nitrogen availability there. Some of the microbes, I think, like boron, look to be improved when we did the leaf tissue analysis with it uh,
Okay,
year over year.
great. And and you said they're no-till. Did they end up using the breakdown last fall? And did they have a
I don't believe so on that field, no.
okay? All right, well, let's move on to this one here, Mike. Here we actually have a side by side, so they actually did a check. It looks like. Tell us what we're looking at and what you saw here.
Actually, that one was Holganix 100% on that one there as well.
Okay,
Just two different plants.
I got
But you can see a lot more rooting. Uh, Usually you see a lot more 45-degree angled roots versus going out sideways, which is better for penetrating the hard soils and better for standability later in the season.
oh, for sure.
And seeing a lot more finer hairs there as well. And you can see with the glomalin on the rhizosphere there, you're getting more soil sticking to the roots.
Yeah, Mike, do you think you know why they're going out 45 degrees instead of going up and spreading out?
We're changing the bulk density of the soil. We've proved that with the Chrysolabs probe that we're opening up pore space, and we're moving the roots down more, and just doing a better job with it versus where the product's not being used there.
Yeah, that's really cool. And Mike, when you do the Crystal Labs probe, that gives you bulk density measurement every single time, right?
That's correct.
And when you do it, when you show either year one to year two or treated versus check, what percentage of the time do you think you're seeing bulk density improve when they use the Holganix Bio 100?
I'd say 60% of the time.
60% time you see
On yeah, on some soils maybe more than that, but your lighter soils probably be 75-80% of that. Your heavier soils maybe just a little less.
Okay. And just some shooting from the hip numbers. What kind of improvements do you see on those bulk density numbers when they do move
Usually anywhere from 10 to 20% increase
with a single application?
with a single application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. And then obviously that translates into better water retention. That translates into better root development. That's going to go at that 45 instead of flattening out. Uh,
Yes.
and and really
You know,
even going down to tillage, it just improves tillage or reduces tillage, the need for tillage and better planting. Is that right, Mike?
yes. Yeah, that's correct. And like I said, where fields are, being like alfalfa fields or fields that are being cut for silage, or where we're getting a lot of manure passes put on, we're usually out there packing the soil. And by improving that bulk density, which we've seen that on guys, and they tell us, they can tell a big difference on trackability in the field, and that they're actually seeing better tilth in the soil from where they're putting product.
Yeah, yeah, that's neat. That's real neat. I'll tell you, I was with a farmer out here at Eastern Shore of Maryland, and he was putting his shovel on the ground and basically just putting a shovel down, putting a shovel down, putting a shovel down, and it's going in, it's going in, it's going in, and then boom, puts the shovel down, stops going in. He says, "Yeah, that's about the line where we stopped." That's how he was kind of illustrated to us. It was pretty cool.
Sure.
Yeah. So, how about this, Mike? Did we talk about this one? I think I just pulled this.
Yeah, that's a field in east central Nebraska. I think it's up around Ewing, Hooper area, north of Fremont, and you can see that we're getting that 45-degree type angle of the roots. You can see the healthy plant there, a lot more fibrous roots, and this is in a year where we've had an excess amount of rain for east central Nebraska. They've kind of been in a 2 to 3 year dry, I wouldn't say a drought, complete drought, but a lot lower amount of rainfall than usual in the past 2 or 3 years. But this year it's tilted the other way, and this is in dry land. It's a little more compacted as well, and it's doing a pretty good job there.
Yeah. So, Mike, what do you see, in fields like this on a wet year? How do you see the biology helping you, versus, some of your treated versus untreated, or, year over year, whatever? On a wet year, what are the benefits going to be?
Like that saying on that rooting, normally in a wet year, roots are going to become what I'd say somewhat lazy. They're just going to go to where the water's at and where the nutrients are, and then just kind of stall out. And then later in the year, when it dries off, they're pretty much done for, and you got to keep begging for water, or hope for rains, or turn on the irrigation. And what I'm seeing is we're rooting down in a wet year, and that's hard to do most years. So, and like I said, where this is at here is an organic matter of probably 3% type soils with a CEC of 18 to 20. And pretty decent soil, and we're still getting that rooting effect.
Yeah. Do you know why that's happening, Mike?
I believe it has to do with how we're changing everything with the biology. We're getting more mycorrhizal fungi to feed, and we're just making everything more healthy, and the roots are penetrating more, and with the consortium of microbes that we have in the mix, we're consuming nutrients early and holding it to release later in the season, and those plants are looking for more nutrition and moving down in the soil profile.
Yep, that's a great explanation. Thanks, Mike. Now, we just talked about a wet year. Take that same ground, Mike, on a dry year. I know you were out there last year and even the year before. Where do you see the benefits on the dry year?
Usually you'll see less rolling, in the heat of the day. Had a lot of customers last year call us and tell us that. This year there was a few areas where you were seeing some rolling, where on compacted end rows, headlands, and basically right to the row where the product was used versus where it wasn't. You can see a big difference in that last year, especially when it was extremely dry. Had farmers report to us in that northeastern Wisner and Wayne area that farmers down the road were calling neighbors that had seen this product and knew they had it, was talking to them about it, saying, hey, your corn's not showing the rolling effect as much. And that's basically what we were really helping in that situation to conserve moisture. And in the heat of the day, we were out there making photosynthesis and doing a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really great to hear. You add that life back to the soil, and it helps you on the dry years, it helps you on the wet years.
Yes.
And overall helps you build healthier soil, healthier plants. How about this picture, Mike? Do you remember what's happening here?
Yeah, that's got the Holganix on it as well, and you can see how much there's some moss and stuff type growing on the ground there. So it's in a wet area, and yet we're not firing or not showing any yellowing. We're holding our own in that wetter environment there.
Yeah, we really see a lot less of the yellow corn syndrome and some other diseases as well. Is that right, Mike? Do you see any disease suppression specifically?
We haven't seen a lot of disease pressure yet this year, but in last year we had guys with tar spot and Goss's wilt. We don't control those, but by making that plant healthier, better immune system in that plant, and we fend off those pests like that, and can basically in field conditions where it's really bad, produce something there to run the combine through versus just some fodder. White mold on soybeans is another one where we show a lot of good activity against white mold.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Building healthier plants, just like people. Healthy people
Yes.
get sick less, and healthier plants tend to have less of a problem with fungal and disease problems, and put that life back in the soil, and it's a good insurance policy against some of those things. You may still need to use your fungicides, but you know that you're going to have less of an outbreak. It's going to be less severe, and in some cases, maybe you choose to keep that fungicide in the barn.
Sure.
So we've got another picture here, Mike. What do you see going on here?
Yeah, lots of soil holding capacity there to those roots. Once again, it's in an area where we've had an extreme amount of water, and holding its own really well there. I think later I took that and put it in a bucket of water and let it set and got it cleaned off, and it was just a massive amount of finer hairs there where all that soil's being held to the roots there.
Yeah, that's fun to see. And think about how much more of the soil we're able to explore with so many more of those fine roots.
Yeah.
How much more porosity we're going to have in that soil, next year, and ultimately even organic matter, because those roots are going to break down and turn into humus and continue to add organic matter back to the soil.
Correct.
So that's pretty good to see. Really appreciate you, Mike, being out in the field helping us see all this stuff. How about this picture here, Mike, in South Central Iowa?
More of the same. It's Holganix on both there, just showing you more 45-degree angled roots and more finer hairs and more soil sticking to the roots on the rhizosphere.
Yeah. So overall, Mike, you're halfway through the season doing field tests anyway. What would be your summary of what's the biggest impact you have from the Crystal Labs probe as you're going out looking at things? Just the Crystal Labs probe.
Right now, I would say building a little bit more organic matter, showing up year over year, a little more carbon year over year, and also showing more nitrogen available versus where we've had checks. I'd say as much as 10 to 15% more nitrogen in that situation. And the corn have been doing a lot of 6, 12, and 23-inch tests. So in that profile range there, we're holding ourselves really well.
Neat. And when you think about the microbiometer, Mike, as you've been out there doing, 100 better than 100 tests out there, what's one of your, what's a couple of your big takeaways on the microbiometer and what we're seeing?
In first year application, we're consistently moving about 20% more biology back into the soil on an index, rating, and as well as moving more from a bacterial dominant to more putting more fungi back in the profile. And I would say the same, about a 10 to 20% increase in the first year application.
Yeah, that just proves we're putting that life back into the soil and getting it more balanced.
That's correct.
And then finally, Mike, and then we're going to move on to you, Tim, and some of the stuff you're seeing out there in Nebraska. Mike, what you're using that Leaf Tech tool as well out in the field, aren't you?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And what do you
Yes.
tell us about that tool and what you're seeing?
You bet. Well, it gives us a real-time leaf tissue sample. I would say about 75% of the time we can take a test out in the field because we've got a good signal with it. But when we run out of signal, we'll basically take the leaves back to an office or a motel at night and run the leaves. And when we're doing that, in comparison to where the check or control is, we're seeing more nitrogen, more phosphorus, boron, and zinc, and sometimes sulfur in over the check where the Bio 800 is being used.
Yeah, that's neat. That just shows you that life is breaking those nutrients down, holding on to them, and getting them available to the plant when the plant needs them.
That's correct.
And in some cases,
make a healthier plant.
We're seeing those improved numbers in the leaf while we've actually reduced input numbers in the field at the beginning of the year. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, we've got a lot of guys,
but more goes to the plant.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're making more available and getting it in the plant. So between the 3 tests that we do, we're moving the needle consistently on all 3.
Yeah, that's fun. I like seeing that. Well, thanks for all your efforts out there in the field, Mike. Stay on the webinar here because we may have some questions at the end. I need you to participate in. But Tim, I appreciate everything you've been doing out in the field as well for us out there. And what part of the Nebraska are you in, Tim?
I'm in the very middle of the great desert of Nebraska.
Okay, cool.
We're in the southwest corner of Nebraska. Irrigated is most of what we have. If it's not irrigated, we've been in a drought for 3 years, off and on. I know that's what the USDA says. We're not in a drought, but you can look out in the field and you can tell them, yeah, right. But pretty excited as to what this stuff is doing on my fields, on neighbors' fields. This particular picture right here actually is a guy that if you can see the ground behind, that's what he actually plants into. There's a lot of calcareous magnesium, which is just a big old white mag spot. The pH is usually an 8.4 plus.
Wow.
Nothing grows. It ties up every herbicide, every nutrient, everything all the way around. And the first year I applied this on one of my fields that has pretty rough mag spot, I was surprised at how small the mag spot got that first year. And really, throughout the field, they're bright yellow because the nitrogen's tied up and the the potassium's tied up. And that year it's like, hey, there's actually corn more than a foot tall. It was 2 feet tall, and sure enough, it even tasseled. And a big old goose egg's usually what you see in the yield monitor for 300 feet, and this year it was only 100 feet. And the next year applying it, it's only 50 feet, and we're actually getting a yield. There's actually corn coming in the combine for a good chunk of it. And that was like, okay, there's definitely something involved here. It's releasing some nutrients. It's putting something in the soil to be able to actually make some growth. It's like, okay, I've really got to look at this a little bit more seriously. And that's what you're seeing here is that plant is actually a green, and he's right on the edge of a mag spot. And normally everybody that comes from Iowa or Illinois, oh, you're nitrogen deficient. No, they've put 200 pounds of nitrogen down. You just can't tell it because it's all tied up. But this is what it does. It makes it just that much more green, so much better of a plant, so much healthier of a plant, great root ball mass, love it, can't argue with it.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Tim, here we got some other pictures from another field. What do we got going on here?
Yeah, this one was one that they applied Holganix, and you can see one, it's kind of spindly on the root ball on one side, and the other one there's actually, I think, with the rhizo sheath, is that what you guys call it? The
That's right.
technical scientific stuff. I got to learn that. But no, I mean, you can see there's a lot more dirt hanging on the one on the left. It's just got that much more bugs working around the roots, making it do its job and being able to start cutting back on your nutrients.
Great. And we got a couple more here from some of your fields that you were helping look at, Tim.
Yeah, this particular guy, he actually runs effluent through his fields on a couple of those fields, and this is the first year. We've got, there might be another picture in here somewhere, but this one was pretty good. A lot of hairs on that root. He was looking at it going, yeah, that's making a difference. I can tell. He wasn't quite sure what it was, but he could tell a difference. So I think there's another picture we have that might have a side by side. Yeah, okay. A lot better of a side by side. So one part of it was basically the effluent that he ran through the pivot didn't hit it, and the other one did hit it with the effluent. And when you add the manure with the Holganix, it just makes a world of difference on all the soil around it. The root hair masses just increase like crazy. He's pretty excited about what it's doing for his, where he's got hog farms to do that, to be able to really cut back on his nutrients. He's pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So how about this, Tim? What's going on here? What were we looking at?
Okay, this one is one of my mag fields, actually. This field, I was pleasant to see I even had some nitrogen that was available, because that's the number one issue for magnesium, is the potassium and the nitrogen are tied up. And starting to see it's getting available, which is unheard of with some of these mag spots. Yeah, you can see my boron, my copper. I always get, I usually take soil samples from the local co-op here, and it usually says you need to apply on a lot of your microbes. And then I'm looking at this like, no, I just need to get them available. And using microbes to do that, it's made my job a lot easier. That Crystal Labs probe was pretty neat. I mean, it gave me everything in a minute as to what it takes, when we do a soil sample in the fall after harvest. It's not dogging on them, but it's like they can, it's just how long it takes. Is take a soil sample, you send it in, you wait for the results. It's a week and a half, and this sucker gave it to me, I think, in 30 seconds to a minute. And that was pretty awesome. That was neat to see. It's like, okay, I could actually cover all my fields in one day and have answers for everything. It's like, man, we really need to look at this a little bit more seriously. So that was what I was looking for.
Yeah. And my team came out with you and helped you look at a bunch of fields recently, right?
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, I think it was. That was a lot of fun getting to see, okay, guys that have done it for 1 year and guys that have done it for 3 or 4 years, the difference that it is turning the needle on the life in the soil, the tilth. I know I've cut my fertilizer by 40% overall on everything, NPK, S. I'm actually going to be pushing my phosphorus closer to about 50% less than what I was 4 years ago.
Wow.
And so it just breaks my heart to have to save 80 to $100 an acre on my fertilizer bill.
sorry to make you do that there, Tim.
Well, I support the co-op. I support the local guys as best I can, but when it comes down to it, they don't pay my mortgage, so I got to figure out what I can do. And unfortunately, with corn taking a nosedive, I'm glad I've done what I've done over the past few years to be able to say, hey, we're sitting all right. Even if corn comes down, we've saved enough money ahead of time, built the soil up, that I'm pretty excited about it.
That's great. And so, Tim, like, I know you've got some ground out there that's fairly decent, some challenging ground out there. Like, give us an example of a field. Like you talked about moving your nutrients way back, and you generally talk about yields being pleased with them, but like, help us understand, like, how much nitrogen are you using and how much corn are you getting and what's the field like?
So the first field I put this on was a sandy field that honestly never should have been tilled under and it should have been stayed to pasture. It's blow sand. I mean, it's beach sand. And the first year I put this on, I was trying to go organic, trying to test a few things, different organic materials, fertilizer programs, and I put this one on one half of a field and was shocked on how big of a difference it made, because that field was averaging about 130, 135, probably was about the best in 2010 to 2018, 19. And that first year, there were spots that I had actually, like, normally I see the best spots hits 220 on the yield monitor. I'm excited. And that year I had 8 spots that hit over 300.
Wow.
And I was shocked. Recalibrate the monitor. Yep, it's correct. Everything's good. Okay, we're just going to have fun. And that sucker yielded really close to about 145 that first year. I mean, a 10 bushel boost that first year. And this last year, every year I put Holganix on, I cut my fertilizer back. I'm at a 0.75 pounds of nitrogen for every bushel on sand. I think university recommendation right now is 1.25. So
Yeah.
I'm really saving on the sandy stuff. And this stuff just this last year, I think I did 167, which is the best I've ever done on that field by far. Dad's my landlord on that one. He's excited because I've pushed our yields on that field 30 bushels better than he ever did. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep cutting nitrogen and see what else we can do to keep improving that sandy soil.
That's great. Hey, you didn't share those results. We didn't have your dad raise rent on you, did you?
Yeah, we're shares, so he's happy with what I do. So
yeah, that's perfect. Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Well, that's neat stuff, Tim. Thanks for sharing it with us. Really appreciate it.
Mhm.
And it shows you put that life back in the soil. The life will hold on to the nutrients you apply and make them available to the plant a lot more efficiently, even in that sandy soil.
Yeah.
And frankly, especially in that sandy soil, because otherwise that stuff just washes right through, doesn't it?
Well, that's where you told me to put it. Somebody told me, hey, put it on your worst ground. And so I was like, I got the perfect quarter to put it on. And I was shocked. Like, well, they were true to their word. So we're going to put it on everything. Now it's tough to put a test plot or a check strip in.
Yeah. Well, I like to hear that. Yeah, we do say if you're going to try us out, put us on your worst ground first. That's where we can see the biggest gain the quickest. But we work on the most productive ground in Iowa, and we work on that sugar sand that Tim's talking about and everything in between. So now we're going to get into some beans before we get into our questions and answers. So again, if you have any questions, is any of these guys you want to talk about anything specific, we got that chat bar or the Q&A bar. Just go ahead and click it and type it in, and we get to the end. We'll try to get some of those questions for you. So with beans, it's the same story. We see better root mass with our soybeans. More root hairs are present. We see significantly improved nodulization, and so we have more capacity for nitrogen fixing as a result. We see earlier pod formation, and the pods fill more numerous pods early on. And just like we talked about the corn, Mike was talking about that goes to a 45-degree instead of just kind of flattening out. We've had guys tell us, man, I've never seen soybeans break the hard pan. And we definitely have those tap roots go down and break the hard pan and help reduce compaction and get better access to water, nutrients, and such. And we got denser stands with darker colors as the nutrients get into the plant more efficiently, and we tend to see less insect pressure by a good bit. And again, that's just a healthier plant. The insects we tend to see Brix levels improve in our soybeans. Any plants we do, but specifically the soybeans, the Brix levels improve, and a lot of your chewing and sucking insects would prefer a low Brix number on a plant, so they're going to go there first, and so they tend not to chew up our plants as much. So here we're going to go, Mike, back to you, talking about beans and what you're seeing out in the fields as you're scouting things this season on beans.
Sure. Same kind of like the corn. Seeing a lot more root mass, more deep penetrating roots, more finer hairs on them, a lot more nodulation, usually a healthier, greener color than where the check is, if there is a check. Usually a little bit quicker emergence on the beans. And I would say more than 50% of the time, we can be one growth stage ahead on soybeans versus the check.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And And you've been out in some of these fields doing all these same usually same high tech tailgate measurements.
Yes.
And anything specific that we're seeing in beans that's worth noting?
Just looks like we're set up to have a pretty good bean year.
Yeah.
Lot more nodulation, so we're making nitrogen for the plant. Plus, going to make enough to have some left over for the next year. A lot more pink nodules that are producing better penetrating roots, healthier looking plant all the way above and beyond. Usually a little bit healthier, thicker stem than the Czech. Not always, but I'd say 40 to 50% of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, seeing real good things there.
That's good. Yeah, that's really cool. And then Tim, I know you've been using this on some wheat as well. What are you seeing there?
Well, with the drought that we've had or the dry conditions, just to have some wheat was tough to argue with. But the root ball mass is big. I mean, what a lot of guys do here is with rotation, corn is king. So they'll do corn, then they might do a soybean, a short season soybean, or an edible bean. And then right after they harvest those beans, go in with wheat for the next year. No-tilling corn right into the wheat stubble is pretty fun to do. So a lot of guys are doing that. We've had a bit more irrigated wheat this year than I think has been in a few years. But I mean, you can just see it. That root ball mass is pretty good sized for how dry it has been this year. Yields haven't been amazing this year by any stretch of the imagination, but the protein's up, but everything's pretty dry. I mean, we started harvesting wheat, I think, about 2 weeks before normal. So that just tells you how much drier it has been. Everything just kind of hurried it up. But
yeah,
the nice thing is the weed suppression from the root balls has been pretty good. I've noticed that on a couple of my fields that I got a couple new fields this year, and it's like, ooh, what kind of weed situation we're going to get into? I'm like, nope, we'll spray Holganix and we'll see what happens. And just kicking that root system off really makes a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, best natural defense against weeds is that deep, thick, well-like root system. It just crowds them right on out.
Yeah.
And you're actually seeing higher protein content. Is that what I heard you say, Tim?
Yeah. Which in a drought, protein's usually a little bit higher anyway, but yeah, seeing a higher protein content. That's another way that the elevators like to adjust what they pay or discount or dock, whatever they do. But that's the protein content's pretty good this year from all the guys I was talking to. So really excited to see that. See if we can continue it for other years when it might be a little bit wetter.
Yeah, and we do typically see that protein content go up, and obviously turns into a higher quality. When you go turn it in. So Mike, I know you've out in Iowa, you've used quite a bit of the fall applied product, which helps with residue breakdown, helps cycle the nutrients back
Yes.
into the soil. Like, tell us some of the things you've been seeing out there. And I think you've even been on this particular field.
It's corn on corn, and you can see it's. I think basically that was 3 weeks after application. They'd run a Salford vertical tool through both the control and where the product was applied, and you can see it'll be ready for planting in the spring. It'll warm up a little quicker. If they're going to go corn on corn and use anhydrous, the anhydrous knives will go through that, seal a lot better. The top, you're going to have to work that some more if you're thinking about doing corn on corn up there. That'd be more of a case where a guy would probably just go back to beans on that and either no-till it or work it once. Yeah. So yeah, it saves diesel fuel. Guys that had some ground in along the Missouri River on the north side of the river, east of Kansas City, on black gumbo ground. We're doing some deep ripping last year, and where they had applied the breakdown, they had some, I think, split fields, and where their wheel slippage was going down where our product was used, and they were using less diesel fuel per hour where our product was applied. And so yeah, lots of fun things there with that product as well. And doing the nutrient analysis in the corn stover, we were starting to cycle the nutrition out of the stocks at 4 weeks. So we were already starting to move the needle that quick on that.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And back to that diesel fuel, do you remember how many gallons per acre he was able to
Honest,
save?
I should know it, but I don't. So I'm not going to speculate on that, but I will find that out.
So I remember the number, and I don't anybody hold me to this. And Mike, you can tell me if this feels like it's a ballpark or not. We don't have to, I'm not trying to make it up. I'm trying to remember it. I think it was 8 gallons to the acre.
It could have been. Yeah. I honestly just do not remember. I just remember that they said it was significantly less and well worth it keeping track of that going forward.
Yeah, that's cool. And also with that breakdown too, Mike, I mean, in the spring, we're going to have much better emergence out of this.
Yes, it'll warm up quicker. Yeah, better soil to seed contact.
Yep. And then so hopefully that turns into yield. But the other piece of the puzzle, which I love, is by not burying that stover or letting it sit all over the ground, we're able to actually pull the nutrients, which is money, out of that and convert it and put it into the ground for next year. And these are some numbers that we pulled from third party. That you can go look these up.
Sure.
If you look at a ton of crop removal on corn, you've got 17 in a ton. Just in 1 ton, you've got 17 pounds of nitrogen, 14 pounds of P, 34 pounds of K. Now keep in mind, 40 bushel per acre is going to give you 1 ton per acre. So a 200 bushel, take every one of those numbers, multiply by 5, and that's how much we're putting back per acre if we're able to fully cycle all of that stover back into the ground by using the microbes.
Yeah.
And obviously, different numbers on beans and wheat, but still significant.
You bet. On last year, back in January, using fertilizer prices from local fertilizer plants, there was well over $100, $100 to $120 on 200 bushel corn, tied up nutrients. So the quicker you can get that cycle back and ready for next year's crop, the better.
Yeah, and that's nutrients you already paid for. Just putting it back down and getting to work for you again second year.
Exactly.
By getting the life to get in there and working for you. And, I know there's a lot of other, products out there that claim to be a bacteria or a microbe breakdown something or other. What makes us different? I know you've seen a lot of stuff out in the field, Mike. Can you describe what makes us different?
Yeah, it's basically our fungi and our protozoa. That's basically what separates us. Most of the products out there are 10 or less species of bacteria, and they have their space there where they're needed, and we need to use them. But to actually break down the lignin and the cellulose of the the BT and the Roundup Ready corns that are a lot tougher than they used to be. It basically, I think it makes those kind of corns, those GMO corns, turn more like conventional corn used to be, where we speed that process 20 to 30% faster on cycling the nutrients and being able to break them down and get them where it's easier to do any tillage passes you do want to do. Or if you decide you want to get it into more no-till, it's going to help you either way.
Yeah, anybody that wants to move towards minimum till or no-till, this is a hack to get there. We'll get there a lot faster, a lot quicker, a lot easier, with a lot less pain. By 800 breakdown. And you can see it, by the way. This is 10 days after application. You break the stalks open, you can feel them, the ones that are treated versus not treated. You can see all this little white, looks like spider web, cotton candy, what have you. That's the fungi that's multiplying inside the stalks, and they actually consume the cellulose. So you can see this in the field pretty readily, can't you, Mike?
Yes, you can. Yeah, if you get a little bit of moisture, half inch of rain to an inch of rain, you're rolling then. Yep. Heat, sunlight, and water is your friend to help get that started.
That's right. So get it down as close to harvest as possible. If you get some cold days, that's okay. It'll work a little slower, but those warm days are coming too, and those days it'll work a little faster. So it'll speed up and slow down as the temperatures warm up and warm down. And it'll even have activity into spring before you start to plant. But we do want to get it down as close to harvest as possible. So Mike, you saw this one too, I think, or at least you know about it.
Actually, that was the year before I came, I think, when they took that picture, but I've heard about it. It's all same hybrid of corn. It was a corn on corn field as well. And I think that was about 3 to 4 weeks after application, where they had also run, it was either a Turbo Max or a Salford vertical till through that. And you can see on the control at the top where the check is, you can see the back and forth direction of the tillage tool, or it just looks like it's just kind of bent the stalks over. It might have made a little bit of soil to stover contact, but the one on the bottom, that's what you're looking for.
Yep.
You're looking to get that evened up, get that residue size, and get it mixed in if you are going to do vertical tillage, and just speeds that process up, breaking that down so much faster. And if you're going to do any fertilizer passes, going to make that a lot easier, going to make it warm up. If you were thinking about putting any wheat into those situations, or cereal rye, you're going to get that crop off to a better start, and be happy you did that come spring.
Sure. And this is pretty high productivity ground, as I remember.
Yes, yeah,
280, something like that on corn.
Yeah, I think CSR 90 plus in there.
Yeah. So obviously chewing up that stover makes a big difference because there's a bunch of it.
Yes.
And then Mike, I know you've seen stuff like this.
Yeah.
Tell us what we're looking at and why we care.
Yeah, this is on soybean stubble, and where the anhydrous bar is going across the field there, that's had the Bio 800 on it. And across the road on the other side of that highway there that goes to West Point, Iowa, was a neighbor, everything pretty much the same. The only thing different was the Bio 800. And you can see where they ran their anhydrous tool through it. It was bunching up on them and, clumping up. And normally where you see where our product's been used, whether it's breakdown or the Bio 800, you're going to be able to get that anhydrous applicator to seal quicker, be able to start earlier in the day, and run a little longer at night. And just won't clump up. That field on the right where the control is, check there, you're going to have to run a tillage pass through that. And the guy putting on there where that Bio 800 is, he could run a tillage tool if he wants to, but he doesn't have to. He could probably more likely just no-till into that.
Like this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In fact, it's the same area, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same field. I think if you go back, it's just a wider view. It's probably the one previous that. I think you can see where there's a leg in the picture. See that where the Bio 800 is, where the leg is there to the straight out through there. Right. Yeah, right there. Yeah. That's what that field looks like.
You can see that here. Here it is right there.
Yeah.
And they went right in without tillage, first time ever,
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
Without tilling. And so it just shows you what it can do for you. As you get used to using it and seeing it, you can make your own decisions. We want to help you a tool to help you move towards no-till or minimum till if you want to.
Sure.
Certainly going to help improve the tilt of the soil, help improve the nutrient availability, make everything germinate a lot better in the spring. Try to make your job easier. We want to be the partner to the farmer and try to give you as many tools as you can at putting that life back in the soil and allowing nature to do her work the way she wants to do it and make her your friend.
And utilize your money better, more wisely. You're going to put that stover back into making grain for next year quicker.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for sharing all that. We do have some questions to do technical service for NRCS in Minnesota, like nutrient management. We don't use that for our Holganix does not use that itself. Our customers certainly have the ability to use technical services like that to make their decisions. We're trying to give them field data that's real time so that they can make decisions. It's just another piece of information to make decisions. They still are using their agronomists, their independent agronomists, and their own soil testing tools as well. So, Mike, do you have any experience around that question at all?
Yeah, I say get as many opinions as you want to get out there. We don't want to replace, your guys that you're having success with. We're just another tool in the toolbox. but give it a try. And your CRS, your soil and water conservation departments and stuff like that, I think will be all into these kind of programs where cycling nutrients and getting cover crops established. This product will definitely help all that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Here we've got these 2 webinars coming up. If you want to learn more from Holganix, we are just about up to our clock here at top of the hour. So if you want to learn more about Holganix, we've got a great webinar digging into crop residue, the role of soil microbes. Dr. David Stark, PhD molecular biologist from Holganix, will be running that. Love hearing Dave talk. He's a very highly experienced scientist, and he loves to talk to people about soil and microbes and making things very understandable. He takes complex ideas and makes them so anybody can understand them. And so I love hearing Dave do his overviews. And then we have another webinar on the 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern from Brian Hansel, and Brian's out in the field a lot with Mike and others, and he'll talk some more about what we're seeing out there, results on the breakdown. And then we got another question in here: is Holganix going to help farmers get into a carbon program? Well, Dave, on the webinar here, the gentleman that asked that question is Dave. Dave, we are working on that in real time right now. We are doing a lot of carbon measurements this year, and we tend to have those. We're in the process of getting third-party validation and going through all of the efforts to create and adhere to all the carbon protocols. I don't want to get ahead of myself because we're still creating the program, but by the end of this growing season, Holganix will have a carbon program that we will help certain farmers within our geography get into a carbon program and start to reap some of the benefits of pulling carbon into the ground using microbes. We are seeing for sure microbes are moving carbon into the ground and fairly deep into the ground at a higher rate than not using microbes. Mike, I think you've been involved in some of those tests.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, we're definitely, sometimes it's significant, other times it's not as much, but on a field average, it looks like it's quite a bit.
Yeah. So we do hope to I mean, there's no hope. We will have a carbon program where we will help farmers get into harvesting additional revenue through different carbon programs. I don't have the details to explain to you at this minute, Dave, but we will have them by the end of the year. And we will have a limited number of acres that we can put into our carbon program in 2025. We took on 100,000 acres this year. We intend to take on about 1 million acres next year. And then continue to expand from there. There is a fair bit of cost and effort that goes into creating that. So, we can only digest so much at a time, but we do tend to go back to our existing customers and give them the opportunity to get involved first. And so, stay tuned. Is the best I can tell you, Dave. I think we'll have some good information for you. Thanks for asking, though, Dave. And Ritu, I don't think we have any other questions that we need to get to. Again, if we can help you out with any of the other webinars, please attend them. We'll be it won't be a rerun. It's a whole different kind of conversation that'll be happening with different people, and so you'll have to get different perspectives. We'd love to talk to you about building life back in your soil and helping you on the soil health journey really create a farm with soil that maybe you don't recognize in 3 years, and you'd be glad you did. I would say that a lot of customers that were out there visiting, they're grateful that they've done it. And you've heard them say people don't even want to do a check plot because they don't want to have any of the ground not go forward. And so we want to be your partner, be a win-win partner on farm. That's who we are. That's what we try to do. Create value by improving soil health, using our unique approach, using a biodiverse soil microbiome, and helping build that and build the life back into the soil for you. So thanks for taking the time to listen to us. Really appreciate it. We're here for you. If you have any specific questions that you'd like to get to, here's how you get a hold of us. Text, call, website, email, what have you. We'll be on top of it. So thanks, Mike. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're real busy. And Tim, appreciate your business and thanks for sharing your personal experience. And thanks for sharing with people on a webinar here what you all have been doing. And
Thank you for having us.
all righty.
Thanks a bunch.
All right, you guys have a good one.
You bet.
Yep,
You too.
bye.